Hello there, Geminis. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be your monthly reading for the month of July. We are going to break it down into separate time frames so that we can look at what's going on in a little bit more of a specific way. So we're not just doing just the whole month in one shot. So we are going to be starting with July 4th through 11th for the first segment of this video. Okay, Geminis, let's see what you got. Alrighty, we are using the Chrysalis Tarot for your reading this month. And the first thing that we're looking at for this time frame from the 4th to the 11th is going to be about your environment. And your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. For most of you, this will be talking about home, but for some it may be work or school, and you'll recognize it as I'm going through this. So your home is making you feel very inspired, or I should say your environment is making you feel very inspired. You're getting lots of good ideas about things that you can do there. And it's also a place where it's a comforting place for you to be. It's a very healing place for you to be. And it's a place where you don't have to be always thinking about what it is that you're saying. And it's a place where you don't have to be careful about what comes out of your mouth. You don't have to walk on eggshells in this environment that I'm seeing. Inspirational, healing place where you don't have to walk on eggshells. All of those are really good to see in your environment. Next, Gemini, we're looking at, for the week of the 4th through the 11th, main themes having to do with your subconscious leanings. So, Geminis, it looks to me like you're really thinking about a goal or a target, something that you want to accomplish, maybe even things that you want to accomplish before you kick the bucket. And you're looking at who are the appropriate people to have with you? Who are the best people to have with you along the way to help you with those accomplishments, to be supportive and maybe even be a part of the team, but to be supportive and to be helpful to you along the way in accomplishing those things that you want to. You're really considering in your subconscious, you're considering those people around you and considering if they are helpful or hurtful to you reaching the goals that you're shooting for. Yeah, so that's what your subconscious is working on. They're really working on the network around you to figure out if that network is aligned with your goals or not. Or if that network is more aligned with maybe what your goals used to be instead of what your goals are now. Or if they're aligned with your goals at all ever, even. But anyway, that's subconscious leanings, Gemini. Next, what we're looking at is two different things. This is going to have to do with thoughts, how you, well, really learning, like your learning style during this period, and also your communication style during this period. So looking at learning first, it looks like you are picking up a lot of information through written or typed word. This could be actual physical books, but this could also be emails, websites, but places where words are visible. Let's say. So it's not verbal. It's not psychic learning that I'm seeing here as the main theme. This is, learning from some kind of written word is what I have coming up here. And it looks like even during this time frame, you're going through different levels of learning as well. So this could be that you're going, you're taking some kind of formal schooling, whether it's just a short career-oriented type class or whether it's something longer. Either way, this looks like this could be more formal schooling, or this could be you doing research on something, maybe online, and finding out more and more. Either way. And then Communication style. It looks like you are doing some written communication, quite a bit of written communication during this time frame. A lot of that has to do with self-reflection. So you're doing a lot of writing about yourself and the things that you need and the things you're noticing and how you're feeling about things around you. So there is some written word coming out of you, and it has to do with, it's a direct result of you reflecting on yourself, this written word communication. Of course, that's not the only communication you're going to be doing, but that is kind of the main theme that shows up in the cards for the time frame between the 4th and the 11th. So next we're going to look at work between the 4th and the 11th. It does look like you're in a situation where you're working on your own without somebody looking over your shoulder. You're doing some kind of independent project. And I think that this is something that you have done in the past that you're working on now. And even if you're just working from home and you used to work from the office, this could be an indication, you know, of doing an independent project where there's nobody around but you to make sure you're actually doing the work. But like I said, I think whatever this work is, it's work that you've done before, you're familiar with it. And I think that the work that you're doing during this time frame between the 4th and the 11th does make you feel like you're involved, like you're a part of something, like you're making a difference. Okay. As far as inner work, because I do look at work as two different things. I look at it as those things we do in the community to be productive, whether we're earning money for that or not. And also I look at work as those things that we do to improve our own inner character for our own particular satisfaction. So what I'm seeing here as far as working on your own inner character, I think that you are separating yourself really from the past. You're being an individual, and you're separating yourself from things where you collaborated with other people in the past, and you're really coming into your own mojo and creating your own independent version of self and following the happiness of that. And yeah, just following the happiness of what does it mean to make you happy, Gemini, not what does it take to make you happy and your neighbor and your spouse and your kid. What does it take to make you happy? And I think you're focusing on replenishing yourself in that way and finding ways to make you happy that don't hurt anybody around you, of course. But, you know, these decisions are not based on other people and other people's happiness. You actually are taking some time to focus on you right now. Okay, that's your inner work or your self work. And then next we're going to look at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded during this particular time frame between the 4th and the 11th. Okay. So it looks to me like you have some situations coming up during this time frame where you are getting out of contracts or getting out of agreements that you had made. And it looks to me like the reason you're getting out of them is because it's more profitable to get out of them than to stay in them. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. I don't think we need to explain that. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. The thing is that as you're getting out of these agreements, because it just makes more logical sense and it's more profitable to get out of them than to stay in them, I think your self-confidence and your self-esteem is taking a hit because you don't take getting out of a contract or getting out of an agreement lightly. And so this is kind of hurting your self-esteem to do this, but it just seems overwhelmingly like the good sense thing to do since I think it literally pays more to get out of these contracts or agreements. So that's where you're growing or expanding right now, is in navigating those waters. All right. What should we look at next? I think we're going to look at those things that you stand for during this time frame. So it looks to me like during this time frame, you are offering inspiring words to your friends and to people around you. You're doing what you can to help them to see things in a more positive light and to just feel better about themselves and the times that we're going through. And it looks like something kind of fell through the cracks here. It may be that as you were trying to make somebody feel better, you may have said something unintentionally that was insensitive, that sort of triggered a not feeling so much better type of reaction. And so I think somebody is questioning you on, what were you thinking? Why would you say that? Thought you were trying to help people feel better. And so somebody's going to be questioning you on that. Ba-bum, bum. How do other people see you? That's the next thing we're looking at. And remember, this is a time frame between the 4th and the 11th. Somebody sees you as being very lucky. They see you as being very lucky. It looks to them like you're recovering quite well from something that had made you very sad or upset. And it looks to them like you're not really even having to change anything about your life. And yet you're still able to do well and recover from things that have gone on that have made you sad without having to make those changes. And I'm sensing there's a little bit of jealousy there, that this person kind of feels like you have it sort of easy because you don't have to make changes and you seem to be recovering just fine. It comes across kind of like you're riding on the wave. You were doing fine before things kind of slipped with the whole pandemic, and then you're doing fine again now. And you may not have had to change like what type of work you do, or you may not have had to change your babysitter, or whatever the situation is. You didn't have to make any changes, and you're still bouncing back and recovering, even though what you went through was hard. And there is a little bit of jealousy because I feel like this other person is having to make big changes to be able to bounce back, and it's more of a struggle for them. So they're jealous that things are coming to you so easily right now, Geminis. Now let's see, the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be telling me about the pivotal part of the week. This is going to be the part of the week that sort of changes directions of things for you moving forward. And let's see. That's odd. It's like I'm missing a card here. How did that even happen? Okay, well, I guess you've just got 2 cards for this part. Okay, well, this is what the message is supposed to be about then. I don't know how I did that. All right, so pivotal part of the week for you guys has to do with something that you are hoping for and you're expecting and you are waiting for, but I will say you're not waiting for it very patiently. You're kind of being antsy about something good that you're hoping for. Okay, and so this is the experience that we're looking at. Being antsy, waiting impatiently for something that you know you're going to like. And as you're waiting, it looks to me like you're realizing that there's a delay here. And so as you're waiting, you're still doing the work. You're still putting one foot in front of the other. You're still doing your manifestation work, and you are manifesting some good things. And you are, you're feeling abundant. You're feeling like things are getting better. You're seeing that things are getting better as you continue to do the work and as you continue to work on your manifestation while you're waiting impatiently for this thing that you're hoping for. Also, at the same time, yes, you're definitely aware that there's a waiting period because you're not very happy about this waiting period. This is basically coming up as being impatience again. And you're feeling like this waiting period is not a fair one or not a just one, that whatever this is that you're having to wait for instead of having it right now, it's not fair that you're having to wait for it. You feel like you've really already done everything you're supposed to have had to do to have whatever this is, okay? And so that would account for the impatience about it. It doesn't look to me like you're expecting for it not to come in. There is just a delay here. It's not like it's been thrown off course, okay? So let's look at what's going on towards the end of the week, having to do with this pivotal thingy. Looks to me like you may be doing a little bit of reclusive time in your own home. Oh my gosh, who isn't doing that right now? uh, reclusive time in your own home, and you may be letting go of some of the responsibilities that you would normally carry out in the community because you're reclusing in your own home. You're kind of stepping back into that home. To me, this looks like you may be put on quarantine. You know, maybe you were tested and you have to wait for the results of the test to see if you get to go back to work or out into the community, or maybe you tested positive and you're having to stay at home until after everything is, till you're not testing positive. But there's definitely something going on here about you being by yourself in your own home and not really worrying about any responsibilities towards the end of the week. Okay, and it may not have anything to do with COVID or with testing. Those were just a couple of examples that came to me off the top of my head. Okay, so that is that time frame. I'm going to take a little break and I'll come back and then we'll look at the next time frame. Hello there, Geminis. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is section 2 of your video. This is going to be July the 12th to the 18th. So welcome back, or thank you for staying, whichever is more applicable. Let's just put a nice shuffle on these cards and get on with it, shall we? 12th through the 18th of July for Gemini. By the way, of course, thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing this video with others who may find it helpful as well. And thank you to those of you who are putting thumbs ups on this video. And of course, always my pleasure to do a private reading for anybody interested in that. We do those either by phone or by Skype. Client's preference. Okay, we should have the right number of cards everywhere this time. Alrighty, July 12th through the 18th, Gemini is looking at your environment. I'm not going to explain what environment is again. You guys learned that on the first go around, so wow, you guys have some mixed messages going on with your environment. It looks to me like you are really struggling in your environment to keep control of your emotions. There is something going on with this environment that I think you really appreciate and love this environment a lot. There's something going on with this environment that is causing you some heartache or some heartbreak. So to me, there's a lot of struggle. Yeah, there's a lot of struggle going on with balancing your emotions around this environment. So to me, I think that you are really, really working on keeping it together, basically, when it comes to your environment. That makes me wonder. I want to see a little bit more about this. I'm going to be nosy now, Geminis. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to be a sticky beak and see what's going on with your environment from July 12th to 18th. You have an environment that brings us heartache, especially when I don't see anything about a person here. Well, this is a weird combination of stuff, that's for sure. I think this has to do with some kind of workplace romance. And this may even be a new job or a new person at a job. It could be a new job for you or a new job for somebody else. Huh. Now, I'm not going to say that all of you are having a workplace romance, because I don't think that it could possibly even be the truth. But I do think that there's somebody that you're in contact with through work, even if you're working at home. This could be a client or, somebody that you, like a colleague, but somebody that you're associated with that is going through some kind of heartache or heartbreak with a romantic situation or with some type of relationship, possibly even. I can tell you I don't see death or sickness here. I think this is more of a broken heart type of situation. And I think that I think what's going on is, this makes sense. I think what's going on is somebody in your environment is dealing with heartache or heartbreak, and that's making your environment an unhappy one to deal with, even though, because I've got this contradictory card here, even though you're in a good space yourself, and I think you may even be helping this other person to find healing. That's going to be pretty intense, actually. All right, so Geminis, let's look next at your subconscious leanings during this time frame from the 12th to the 18th. I think that there's some kind of situation where you've been feeling left out because there was information that you were not told about, and that's making you very unhappy, and your subconscious leanings are working out, okay, well, what am I going to do with this little piece of information? How do I want to respond to it ultimately? What do I want to do about this person who didn't tell me this thing that I should have been told? And what do I want to do to be able to get my happiness back, whatever was making me happy? What do I want to do to bring that happiness back? So a couple of different things your subconscious is working on. What to do about that situation is sort of in a nutshell where somebody didn't tell you something that they should have, which made you sad. I'm not even sure that what they didn't tell you is what makes you sad. I think it's more about the idea that they didn't tell you this thing that makes you sadder than the actual thing they didn't say. If that makes sense. I hope that's coming across in a way that makes sense. Okay, so next we are looking at learning style and communication style during this time frame. You are definitely gathering some information right now. A lot of this is going to be around emotional topics for you, and I think that you're going to be gathering information sometimes at night, like after dark, and for a lot of you, you're going to be gathering information in secret. Like, you're not going to be letting other people know that you're doing this research or that you're digging for this information because you're just not ready to share with other people that you're digging for this, that you're looking for this information, because then you would have to explain why, and you don't want to. Now, as far as communication, I think that you do have a lot of long distance communication that's coming up as a theme for this week, is long distance communication. So maybe calling your best friend who might live in a different state or a different country, something like that. But there is communication between you and somebody far away showing up this week. And also there's, I think that the communication that you have is a little bit fragmented. It's just things are coming out in bits and pieces. I think you're having a hard time putting the whole story together whenever you're talking to somebody. And like I said, I think the main person you're going to be talking to is somebody that is at a distance from you. Next thing that I want to look at. Next thing that I want to look at talks to me about work. What's going on at work? Looks like everything's kind of getting turned on its head whenever it comes to work. Things are not feeling very secure there. You may have been thinking that you were going to get a raise or a promotion, and that's just not happening. Things just don't look very secure there at all. You may be traveling for work, or it may be that the people who run the business may be away. And I think that there's just I think leadership at work are not acting in the best integrity that they could possibly act in. Let's just put it that way. Now, let's look at inner work. Inner work really has to do, I think you're working on your relationships with other people. You're working on how you interact with other people, trying to improve that. I think you're also trying to improve your recognition of when somebody is playing you and when somebody is not playing you, and trying to improve on your interaction so that you're interacting appropriately, so that when somebody's playing you, you're interacting, you're reacting and responding in a way that is appropriate to take care of yourself in that situation, without getting a whole big ruckus, World War III started. Um, yeah, we're going to leave that there. Next thing we're looking at is that part of you that's being grown or expanded as you go through this week, Geminis. La, da, 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 da. Okay. All right, Geminis, I am going to retract this thing about this may be something happening to somebody in your environment that I said at the beginning of this reading. I think that there's some kind of heartache that's going on that is impacting you a lot more directly than I thought at first. Because when I'm looking at where you're being grown or expanded in your personality, what I'm seeing is that you guys are feeling really apathetic, no energy, not wanting to do anything, not inspired about things, and especially when it comes to friends. This looks to me like there was some kind of friend or partner who really has gotten pretty much on your last nerve, and now they're bouncing up and down on it. And I think where you're growing and expanding is in learning how to cope with this situation where you have let a friend or some friends get you to a point where you basically don't even feel like doing anything anymore. You're basically feeling pretty depressed, more or less. It's a good way to say it. Definitely blue. Let's say blue. All right, next thing that we're looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. What's happening here? This to me talks about there's some kind of breakup that has happened. This doesn't have to be a breakup between you and a romantic partner. This could be a breakup between a friendship or even between a business partnership. But there's some kind of breakup where two people have let go of each other. And it looks to me like there's a lot of, I think for you, this is really difficult. You really miss that person and you feel like you need that person. But at the same time, you're making some major changes in yourself and you're doing a lot of the things for yourself that this other person used to do for you. So you're definitely growing here. I see this as painful growth. I feel like some of the things you're doing for yourself, you're doing because you have to, because this other person is not doing those things anymore. But I do see it as a growth of your own self-sufficiency and self-esteem as you're learning to do those things for yourself. Okay, next we're looking at how other people perceive you. Okay, so from the other side of the fence, when people look at you, what they see is somebody who, to them, it looks like you're not really putting out any energy or effort to invest into anything, whether that's relationship or work or whatever, however that applies in your particular case. But to them, it doesn't look like you're putting any energy or effort into this thing that you would like to have work out. They do see you also, though, as somebody who communicates a lot. You do a lot of talking. You just don't do a lot of actions to back up that talking is how they're seeing you. And they see you also as somebody who is a peacemaker, somebody who is trying to calm things down and bring things into a peaceful type of resolution. Okay. Next thing that we're going to look at talks to me about the pivot point basically for this week. So where things start to turn or transform. Okay. So there is a lot of communication that's going on. And I think that this communication is really not making you feel very hopeful about things getting better in this personal relationship situation that is not going so good. So pivot point really is, with all this communication, it's basically about that you are, to me, I would say that you're coming to some kind of closure where before you might have been thinking, well, maybe this can be salvaged or fixed. I think now you're coming to this place where you're realizing, nope, it's not going to move forward. And at the same time, it looks like somebody is trying to bring this thing back, even though there's all this communication about, how can it work? I think they're trying to bring it back, and I think that you actually do try to let that fly. You try to put your energy and effort into that. The only problem is that even though they're trying to bring this thing back, they've got too much on their plate. They've got other things that they're working on at the same time or participating in at the same time, and that is taking away energy that they could put into this. And so I don't see this as working out too well, but let's see what the next cards have to say. Yeah. So what basically ends up happening as you guys are trying to make this thing work is, and even as you're talking about, well, I don't know how this is working, I don't really think that this is going to go too well. I think you've basically said that. And I think it's against your own better judgment to go ahead and try to get this going again. But you're trying to get it going again. But I think what happens is that doesn't last very long. And you realize that, it's not working out. It's not going to work out. And although there's disappointment there, I think you're starting now to just hold back because you're starting to realize, and you're just basically starting to get ready for, you're trying to detach because I think you feel like the detachment is definitely coming. Full detachment. All right. And then looking at how we end this week, Gemini, what we have here is basically you are starting to take better care of yourself because things aren't working out to be working together with somebody else or collaborating with somebody else. And so you're putting in energy and effort on just rejuvenating you, replenishing you, getting yourself ready to get up and get going again. And I think you're getting yourself ready to get up and get going again without this other person or without this other company, without this other vendor, whatever it is in your life, without this other partner maybe even for some of you. But I think you go basically into replenishment mode where you're realizing that it just doesn't work to keep trying to put energy and effort into that old situation that is just not, the other person isn't putting energy or effort into it. So that it doesn't get to go very far if there's only one. So I think you're pulling back and you are starting to focus on yourself because you know that that is something you have control over and that's something you're able to focus on. Okay? So that was a rough one. That was a rough one. Hopefully next week will be a better one. We can always hope, right? So I'm going to take a break and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Thanks for being here. Back again, Gemini. Let's take a peek at July 19th through the 25th this time. Are you ready for me? Hopefully this is going to be looking like a much better week than last time. Let's find out. Okay, Geminis, we've got your cards down. Let's take a peek here. Let's take a peek. Okay, first thing we're looking at is your environment. And what I'm seeing here is that things are fair. Things are definitely fair. Things are coming back into a balance and back into an equilibrium here. It looks like where you may have been feeling left out in your own environment, now that is not happening. And it looks like you are pouring out either emotions in your environment, which looking at the week before, that would be very likely, or you're pouring out finances into your environment. Either way, whatever it is that you're pouring out with the sense of you not feeling left out or feeling like you're not short of money, either way, this is good. So we've got a nice positive setup going on for the environment. I'm glad to see that. That's a good start after last week, so yay. Now, let's look at your subconscious leanings, Geminis. Okay, so in your subconscious, you are thinking about something that happened in the past or something from the past or someone from the past. And what you're remembering about this is not very pleasant, not very good. And it looks like whatever it was about this thing from the past that wasn't very good had to do with the idea that there was just too much going on, and not everything that was going on. There wasn't room for everything that was going on at that time frame, and so things were falling through the cracks. And I think with your subconscious, you're looking at this and you're realizing, you know, that really hasn't changed. Like if you would go back into that location, or if you would go back into that relationship, or if you would go back into that activity, that really hasn't changed. There hasn't been a change there so that it would still be something that would create these rough or negative type of emotions. So your subconscious is really working on that, and kind of, I feel like there's a little bit of your subconscious is working on accepting that, you know, that nothing really has changed and that that's just the way it is, and that's just going to have to be okay. That's what where I feel like your subconscious is with this. Just really working to wrap around that whole concept. Next thing that we're looking at talks to me about communication style and learning style. We're going to start with learning style. Okay, so definitely you're doing a lot of learning on ways to make yourself feel secure in the world. All right. A lot of this is going to be written word style learning. We talked about written word last week, that can be on the internet or it can be hard copy books, magazines, whatever, but written word. And so there's a lot of written word happening. I feel like a lot of what you're learning actually is kind of stressing you out, and this is stuff that you're learning about how to become more secure. So what are things that make us feel secure? Well, money, assets, family, support network, relationships. We can sum that up with relationships as far as family and support network. So we're really learning about relationships, and we're really learning, and maybe even a particular relationship possibly. And we're also learning about money and finances and assets and other things that make us feel secure. So that's where our focus is, or our learning style is focused on. And then as far as communication style, there's a lot of confusion that comes up in your communication, and that may be why you're just like scrambling to learn about things that make you feel secure for the long term. And I think that when you're talking, even as you're communicating, I think that the ideas that you're communicating, you're not just communicating one idea, like you're communicating not only the one idea, but also what led you to believe this, what led you to believe that, what led you to believe that, kind of following the trail down. So there's talk about not only stuff, but there's also talk about why this stuff is happening the way it is, as far as for your communication, the things that you're saying during the week. Now, looking next at work. So lovely. I feel like you are doing a lot of work with friends right now, and I think that there's a lot of communication that's involved in your work. So there's a lot of talk involved in your work, negotiations, explanations. Maybe you teach people or train people, so you have to do a lot of talking. But there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of talking going on at work. And I think that you work with people who you consider to be your friends. And I think that you are really focusing on projects that are going on at work. Now, as far as inner work, I think that you are working on building up and securing your support network, that you are evaluating people in your support network to see if they're good quality people to have in your network, or if you want and new people that you're meeting. I think you're evaluating them to see if you would like to have them as a part of your support network too, or as a part of your tribe. So that's your inner work. Next thing that we're looking at talks to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. There is definitely something that you're waiting for, and I feel like it may be something that you're waiting for that somebody else is making or creating, something that they're doing custom just for you. And it looks to me like you may be waiting longer than you anticipated because there's some frustration. There's a level of frustration here with the idea of well, how long do I have to wait for this? Maybe you have somebody designing a logo for your business, or you have somebody making a very special sign for a gift for somebody. There's something to do with this idea of somebody being very creative, and you're having to wait for this person as they're being very creative, and you're not liking it. Not liking it. And that's where you're being grown or expanded right now, is basically in the idea of, how do I cope with this situation in a healthy way? How do I resolve this situation in a healthy way? All right. So next thing that we're looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. So right now there's not a lot of communication going on with somebody. Things have sort of gone quiet. Looks like you're taking a break. This is definitely some type of relationship situation that I'm seeing, whether it's romantic, a friendship, a business partner, whatever it is, some type of relationship where you're taking a break and you're being quiet. Doesn't mean that you don't care about this person. I think that you do still hope that this will work out, and you still care about the person, but it just seemed like what needed to happen was a break. And so somebody is sort of confronting you and saying, are you sure this is the best thing? And you're having to defend the idea of, yeah, I do think it's the best thing. Okay, so next thing we're looking at is how other people perceive you. All right, so this person who's kind of confronting you about this break that you're taking in a relationship, they're seeing you as somebody who is walking away from the relationship completely and actually putting a lot of conscious effort into walking away from this relationship completely. And they are questioning whether that's something that you really want to do, or is this just a phase that you're going through and later on you're going to end up missing this person. So that's how somebody from the outside sees you. Next thing that we're going to look at talks to me about that pivotal part of the week where things start to actually change a little bit. Geminis. Okay. I think what's going on here is whoever you were being quiet with, whoever you were taking the break from, I do think that there is going to be an interaction with this person. You guys are going to let down the boundaries, and communication, interaction is going to happen. And I think that when the two of you interact, I think that you're trying to act in full integrity. You're trying to be the person that you would want somebody else to be for you. And what's going on is you guys are not able to get along. You guys are fighting. Once you guys actually finally do start talking, then basically a fight breaks out. So that is where things kind of start pivoting. We're switching direction, where things become more flexible during the week. It looks to me like you're feeling really good that you guys are talking, whether you're fighting or not. Just the idea that you're talking is adding a sense of stability to your life. I think you are letting this person know, look, I'm willing to put energy and effort into this, even though I do have other options. There are other things I could do. They're not what I want to do. What I want to do is work on this relationship that you and I have. So you're letting that person know that in this communication. What else is happening? Well, I think that you're finding some healing too as you guys communicate. So it's interesting because it comes up that this communication breaks out into a fight. This interaction does break out into a fight, but it brings some healing. And I think that, there's something that comes up that's the truth that you probably did not know is what is actually bringing this healing out of this. I think that part of the reason why it becomes a fight is because this other person is very passionate and fired up, and they could have some insecurities going on, but definitely it's because they have deep feelings and they're really impatient. They want you to hurry up and heal and hurry up and be fine, basically. And so I think really that's what the fight is about when we look at this. When you guys have the communication, the fight is about you're willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to put energy and effort into this, even though I obviously do have other options. And this person is saying, well, it shouldn't be that hard. How come you can't just get over it? And so that's where the fight comes into play here, is what it looks like to me. Now, once we get towards the end of the week, I do see the two of you coming together and collaborating again. I do feel like you're questioning a little bit if you've made the right decision and allowing that to happen. But I do feel like it's a conscious decision that you've made. I don't feel like you guys have been pushed into a situation where you need to start collaborating. I feel like this is a conscious decision, and you guys have both made this decision to go ahead and get back together again and start working on things together again. Yeah, but I'm not sure that by the end of the week you're really sure that this was the best idea or the best plan. I don't see you walking away from it because you're not sure. I just think you're kind of holding out. You're sort of waiting to see, okay, what's going to happen next. All right. So I would say that week was definitely much better than the previous one. Woot woot. And I mean, it still wasn't peaches and roses, but life isn't always peaches and roses, is it? Okay, so I'm going to take a break and then I'll come back and we'll do one more week. Okay, Geminis, one last segment, and this is for July 26th through the 31st. What do we have for you? Okay, let's take a peek, starting once again with the environment as we have been doing. Okay, what's going on here? It looks like you're feeling pretty secure with your environment, pretty safe within that. It may not be the prettiest environment. It may not look exactly like what you want it to look. It looks to me like you're feeling like you want to add some artistic touches or add some beautification type touches to your environment. But it does come up as being secure. I feel like it's a safe, secure environment. I just feel like you want to add some things to make it look better or feel more comfy, some creature comforts or some beautification type things. All right, let's look at your subconscious leanings. Looks like you have a person on your mind actually for the time frame between the 26th to the 31st. And that person is somebody who is going to be more of a masculine type energy, somebody who thinks outside the box, really good at problem solving, somebody who likes to be around people, likes to make people laugh, and yeah, somebody who has a very creative mindset. And this is somebody who generally makes good decisions. They're either somebody who has some experience or just generally an old soul, shall we say. Okay, and so subconsciously you're focusing on that. It looks to me like you are wanting this person to find some type of healing or some way of getting to be more balanced, either in their body or in their mental and emotional facilities. I think this is especially about emotional. You may be wanting to bring healing to them. It looks like something may have happened to them that has made them feel a little bit blue, and you are working in your subconscious on ideas or ways to help them feel a little bit better if you can. Now, next thing that we're going to look at talks to me about your learning style and also your communication style, at least in this time frame. Looks to me like learning is most easily done hands-on right now. You do still have this focus on written word, but I think that there's learning coming up through written word, but also you're putting that written word into action to really get that to sink down into your memory, and also to sort of work out the kinks of what it means going from the written word and as opposed to going into real life where the rubber meets the road. So sort of getting rid of any of those illusions or things that maybe you kind of assumed that weren't really true. We're just working out the kinks basically as you take information from written word to actual reality and put it into practice. All right, as far as your communication style, your communication style is really solid in that I don't see a lot of confusion here in what you're communicating to other people. I also don't feel like other people have any question about what it is you mean. I think you're being very clear in your communication. I do think that there is some joking around and some fun in that communication. I still don't think people are missing the overall message though. And so you've got some really nice functional communication going on that does have a little bit of comedic flair, shall we say. All right, so Gemini's next. We're going to look at work. What's going on here? It looks to me like you may be having a hard time with communicating whenever it comes to work, communicating your thoughts and ideas to other people or even just to your friends or your work colleagues. That communication can be difficult right now, maybe even because of technical things. By now, Mercury is going to be out of retrograde. I'm not sure why that would be an issue. But I think that communication is an issue, and not only is it hard for you to get ideas across to your colleagues and your friends, but I think that it slows down your manifestations of the things that you're wanting to happen. I don't think it makes them stop, but I do think that it throws up obstacles that have to be overcome, and so you have to go back and you have to like restate the message the way you really meant it, or the way that they can really hear it, to get things actually accomplished the way you want. But I do see what you want to get accomplished actually happening. Now, Geminis, let's look at inner work. I really think that you're not focused that much on inner work during this time frame from the 26th to the 31st. You're much more focused on friends and on play is the word that I'm hearing. So on friends and on play. So not really focusing on a lot of inner work, but focusing more on just having time to go do fun things with friends. Maybe you're on vacation or something where your routine is thrown off. Most of us that do inner work have some kind of routine about doing it. That's why I'm thinking that. I could be wrong, though. All right, what are we going to look at next? That part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. How does that even work? So I do think that you're going into hermit mode. I think you're going off by yourself to think some things over and sort of sort some things out. But even though you're in hermit mode, you are still communicating quite heavily with the outside world, and you're also learning something new. You're doing some research. So this, where you're growing and expanding, is you're learning how to communicate with people without being right in front of them. You're learning how to do research without being around people. You're learning how to do these things on your own without leaning on other people as much as maybe you used to before all the, before we had to work from home or work alone scenario came along. So definitely it looks like you are reclusing things by yourself. You're still communicating with a lot of people and you're learning something new. That's where your personality is being grown or expanded, is learning how to do those things and still be in recluse mode. All right, so from the 26th to the 31st, next we're looking at what you stand for. There is still this situation that comes up where there's a lack of communication, lack of working together with somebody, even though you miss them. And I think somebody is saying to you, hey, how come? They could be asking you, why do you still miss this person? They didn't really treat you that good. Or they could be saying, how come you're not talking to that person and doing stuff with that person? Either way, you're having to defend yourself and your position whenever it comes to that relationship. How are other people perceiving you? Well, they see you as taking a break, taking some time to heal, and as feeling a little bit dejected. Maybe not, maybe more than a little bit. But they are seeing you as coming out of that sadness and coming into healing as you take this break, just very slowly. It comes across that it's happening slowly. So that's their opinion. That's their opinion. That's an outsider's opinion. Sometimes those opinions are good and sometimes they're just not. Anyway, let's look next at your pivotal point through the week. What? Why? You guys had some pretty positive things going on, but you're feeling like there's not a lot of hope. Seems like you're having trouble with moving things forward. There is somebody in your life who has shown you their true colors, and you're realizing that you are not, you're kind of taking them off of the pedestal now that you've seen their true colors. And things are not going as well either now that you've seen their true colors. And so you're feeling a little bit down, a little bit dejected, and that's our pivotal point here. Let's see what happens as you're going through that. Well, you're feeling like something that was a goal or a target of yours that you thought was absolutely perfect is not. It's close, but it's no cigar. And you're feeling that way because the truth has come out about this situation. Well, we already saw that, you're seeing somebody's true colors. So the truth has come out about something that somebody has done or something they've said. And so you have seen somebody's true colors. And this is this truth coming out has actually averted a tower moment. It has averted some kind of sudden removal of security from your life. So it could be that this truth coming out or this person showing you their true colors, maybe there's a situation where you were looking at them and really counting this person as the bad guy or the bad lady. And then as the truth came out, you might be finding out why they were acting the way they were and realizing, well, maybe they're not such a bad person. Maybe they were just dealing with stuff. And so this is averting, this removal of something that makes you feel so secure in your life. Let's see what else is happening. So even though you're not ready to really abandon them after you find out this new truth, you're still not feeling very good about things. So anyway, what else is happening here? A lot of confusion. Yep. So after you find this new truth, you're realizing that there's a lot of confusion around. You had actually planned on being done with this situation and letting it go. I mean, in fact, we had kind of shown earlier you were taking a break from it. You were planning on being like finally done with it, not like taking a break, but done, 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 done with it. And now there's some confusion about whether you want to be done with it or whether you want to just get things started again with this, but just do it in a different way because of this new information that's come up. Let's see what's happening as you hit the end of the week. You are getting back together with this person. There's a lot of communication going back and forth as you do so. It looks to me like by the end of the week, nothing really has changed in this situation, but there's a lot of communication back and forth about what needs to change. And it looks like you guys are back together, working back together, but there's not, because there's not any change right now. There's a lot of communication about the changes that need to have, that need to come to be, that need to happen. So we end this week just seeing communication about those changes, not actually seeing them. It's going to be interesting to see what August holds for you, if there is change, positive change moving forward, or if this becomes just an ongoing situation that doesn't actually ever really get resolved. All right, well, anyway, that's where we're going to end because that's the end of July, and I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for spending some of your precious time with me. Thanks for the thumbs ups and for the shares on this video. And of course, thank you to those of you who are ordering private readings from me. There's nothing I like to do more than read for people and bring in clarity in situations where people could use it to make good, solid decisions moving forward in their lives productively. So I look forward to seeing you guys either here for private readings or on the next video. Peace out. Okay.